collaborative organisations, you've got to learn how to be collaborative. So that's the theme of what I'm going to share with you today. So far, you've been introduced to information about the past 5 years and information about the previous 5 years. What I'm going to focus on what's going to happen from now for the next 5 years, and how coaching, which is a collaborative art, can actually help not only you, but also your people to thrive and survive in a future that we really don't know anything about. We might think that we do. So it's interesting, somebody said to me the other day, what does VUCA mean? How many of you know what VUCA means? Who doesn't? Okay, it's really, look it up on Google. It just means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, if you think of that, and this is the way that the world is becoming, even more so, and it already is, if you think about that, how do you think it affects your wellness and your physiology and your neurology? So if you think about, the amount of change, and Robert said we're always on, there's this war for our attention, what is that doing to us, at a physical, emotional and cognitive level? Any ideas? What is it doing? How are you feeling?
Just raising stress levels.
Yeah, it's raising stress levels because we've also got this war for our attention that's already been mentioned. So what we're finding is that life is unstable. I was talking to a client yesterday who's on that top 10 list. He said the world is assembling and disassembling. He's also the CIO of a major organisation. And I said to him, wow, that's really cool. Can I use it in my presentation tomorrow? He said there's different sets of expectations, and with all of this change, you're still expecting your people and yourself to be a really high performer. Organisations are still expecting to get an ROI on their bottom line. Organisations are still expecting to grow and thrive, and yet everything is going to be different if it's not already different now in your organisation. So it's going to elicit, Robert's talked about reactive responses, it's going to elicit a complex set of emotional, cognitive and visceral reactions in people. They're going to get really upset. And as a result of that, they're going to fight back. This is why people resist change. They're going to avoid change. They're going to avoid doing things differently, or they're just going to freeze and sit on the fence and do nothing. What it's going to require from us is a need for a higher level of education and training than was ever needed previously. And our psychological resources, including our capacity for innovation, self-management, all of those things are going to have to be more important. So just cultivating emotional intelligence will be useful on the one hand, but there's a whole lot of other mindsets, behaviours and skills that you're going to need to cultivate as well as. So the impact of all of this is that it affects our autonomic nervous systems. All of this change throws us out of balance. We talked about cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance impacts on our mindsets. Our mindsets are formed by the values and beliefs that we have. And a mindset is simply a frame of reference, nutshell version. So people are challenged about how they think, how they feel, and how they make decisions, which is why Robert's talk on being able to be present and connected and attuned is really important. So this creates very often an immunity to change, or we talk about the corporate antibodies. That's what they are. We need to be able to identify, if we're going to collaborate, we need to be able to be collaborative at an individual level, at a team level, at a culture level, and as Alan said, at a systems level. So we need to cultivate our minds. And the 3 areas that we want to cultivate is how we think ourselves, how we collaborate through teaming and networking, and how we generate innovative solutions. When we go there, this imperative to change, and some of you may have already worked in organisations where they've said, oh, you've got to change. It's a no-brainer. You've got to change. When we push people to change, what do they normally do? What do you notice? Resistance. They push back. So the first thing is to stop telling people what to do and to start asking them what to do. And Hal Gregerson, who's also involved in the Innovators DNA, is just, if you go to LinkedIn, all you see that he's doing is saying, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. How effectively are you asking questions? What is your level of curiosity? How inquisitive are you? How good are you at asking questions? How well do you pay attention to asking questions? How intentional are you in asking questions? As a coach, I sit down and I write out, I script all my questions before I go into a meeting, before I go into a session, before I run a workshop. So we're going to pull people, we need to pull people towards the possibilities. There may be necessity, but there may also be possibilities in this change. As a coach, I'm also accredited in something called M-Braining, which is a great methodology by Grant Susalu and Marvin Oka. And I've had the opportunity to go to the edge of emergence in a number of times. So what we also need to do is to pay very deep, deep attention. And when Robert says, just sit there, hit your pause button. That's what meditation does, but that's also what true connectedness does. When you are truly connected to yourself and you're present to other, you hit the pause button, you empty your mind, you create compassion in your heart and courage in your gut. So you open your mind, you open your heart, and you open your will. That is the only way you will get to take intelligent actions in the future. So on our Coach for Innovators program, we actually include a lot of retreat, reflection, immersion, and indwelling activities. This whole new world's going to need new ways of being, thinking, and doing. So we're going to have to cultivate, in order to be resilient and agile and innovative, is we need to cultivate gumption. We need to be provocative. Stop being nice. Stop being so nice. Nice means nothing I do cares enough. Get discomfort resilience. That's what I learned in the Middle East. I got comfortable with being uncomfortable. Develop your self-belief and be compassionate. You cannot be collaborative unless you can be compassionate with other people. And cultivate your grit. Be prepared to disrupt your own routines. Be prepared to disrupt your people's routines, but create safety and create permission to do that. Be passionately purposeful, courageous and determined. Be prepared to be individualistic. Play in the playing fields where no one else will play. This is what creates collaboration, because people want meaning. If there's no meaning in what they're doing, if there's no big why, then their cognitive minds will disconnect. If there's no heart connection, or there's a disalignment with their values, they will not connect. If they can't connect, they can't collaborate. If the actions and the communications, which you just heard, are not clear, people's cognitive minds will make up their own stories. People will just go and do what they like if those elements aren't in place. Start to cultivate through good inquiry and excellent listening. Listening is the other side of inquiring, and then there is also generative discussion. So as we know, we need, like I did when I was in the Middle East, just let go of everything that you know, because it might not be relevant. Let go of those accreditations and all of those paradigms that are no longer relevant. Be discerning. Be willing to unlearn and be willing to empty your mind. And I put that into a question. So next time you go into one of those meetings, how can I unlearn to come from an empty mind? The growth mindset is part of the solution. It's not all of the solution. What can I learn from the challenges in this situation? This situation is awful. What can I learn from it? The whimsy mindset. Be playful. Be inquisitive. I wonder how I can play with this idea, start to get some fun back into the space. And then this was the most important mindset that I learned in the Middle East, is the gamer mindset. Play it like you're on a video game. Play hard to win. Winning doesn't mean killing the other person. Winning means taking smart risks and experimenting and learning by doing. So those mindsets are really key, and all you need to do is just start asking those questions for like 2 seconds before you start something. So how do we do it? We build people's capacity, confidence and competence. I had to do it myself. I walk my talk. We teach, if you're going to be a great leader, you're going to have to be a great teacher and a great transformer and a great innovator and a great coach, because you're going to have to pull people along with you. So notice the first element of our cycle is connection. Connect to self, connect to other. Explore, go to the edges of the boundaries, the edges of the box. Discover the new playing fields. Then design a solution and then deliver a commercial outcome. So it involves agility, creativity, being out of the box, positivity and optimism. I learned that in the Middle East. Here were people who never knew, at a moment's notice that there might be bombs coming over the border and might have to go to a call-up. Critical thinking, very important, problem solving, and at the end of the day, deliver what customers appreciate, value and cherish and make them happy, because they've got so many choices today, especially with the flea market of the internet. So how do we do it? Just very quickly. I had the privilege of going to MIT in Boston quite some time ago now to study with Peter Senge and Otto Scharmer, and we use Theory U and emergence as a construct. And that requires sitting there, hitting the pause button and being fully present and going through that arrow. I developed my own innovation curriculum over those 5 or 6 years living in the Middle East. It's a theoretical construct, it's validated. And then we use design thinking. How many of you are getting design thinking now into your... It's only part of the solution, because if you put rubbish in, you get rubbish out. If you don't teach people how to be, think and do things differently, develop different mindsets, design thinking is just another construct. So it's actually a process that we use, and then we include startup methodologies as a fast and agile process for iterating a minimal viable product or a solution. So it's action learning based. We work with organisations. They have an evidence-based case study. They use that to collaborate in team. Nothing like a problem. Throw a problem at a team, teach them to be present, teach them to inquire, teach them to really listen and generate creative conversations, give them a case study, tell them at the end of the day they've got to do a business model canvas pitch to get their idea across the board or not. It drives accountability, responsibility, and then we support one-on-one coaching, because everybody has their own set of resistors and blocks to change. So we work with people at that head, heart and gut level. So there's lots of benefits in coaching for innovation. It's really a huge opportunity to shift, from and understand the differences between creativity, invention, innovation. There's lots of data. My latest accreditation is a professional certified coach, which is only 800 of us in the world. If you go into coaching and you want to learn to be a coach, do something that is accredited, because it makes your learning robust and it gives you rigour. I'd never done a proper formal coaching course in my life, still probably haven't. But I'm very much now part of this ICF community, and you can see there's lots of data, and I'm happy to share that data with you that really shows the value of coaching individuals, coaching teams to get collaboration, coherence, connection, and really great outcomes that organisations want. So the agony of change is always the start of something good. May you start really good things by being, thinking, and doing things differently in this new world that has emerged and will continue to emerge much faster, much harder, and much more challenging. Thank you. you.